Hey Moi, you want to check out the new Division 2 DLC?
Division? Isn't that game like 10 years old?
No, okay, well yes, the Division is 10 years old, well technically 9, but the Division 2 is only 6 years old, and they're still coming out with new content like the latest Battle for Brooklyn DLC.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to play this series, but at this point, I don't even know where to start.
Alright, so what if we were to just give you the game for free and then pay you to share your opinion on it in video form? Would that work?
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Okay. All right, I guess today we're playing the Division.
You gotta say 2. Division 2, not just Division. Division 2. Okay.
Yeah, 2. Okay, yeah. Got it. Yep. Today we're going to be playing the Division 2.
From never playing a single minute of the Division 2 to now 100%ing the latest Battle for Brooklyn DLC, all I've got to say is, why weren't you guys telling me to play this game earlier? The world, the movements, the graphics, the story, the ability to stick an enemy with a crossbow bolt and then watch as he helplessly flails his arms until he explodes. I had an absolute blast playing this DLC, but before we get into it, I need to do my sponsor duty by thanking Ubisoft and the Division 2 for sponsoring today's video. By clicking the link down in the description below, existing Division 2 owners can get the DLC for $15, while new players can get it for up to 90% off from now until June 17th. So click the link down below. But enough about that. Let's talk about Battle for Brooklyn. If you're a longtime Division fan, then Battle for Brooklyn will hit you right in the nostalgia. The streets aren't covered in snow like when you first explored them 10 years ago, since the events in this DLC take place months later, but the city is just as immersive and alive. For myself, this was my first taste of the world post Black Friday epidemic, and it kicked off just like an action movie. Now, I'm not going to go full-on spoilers here, so if you do still want to experience the story for yourself, you're safe to watch this video, but I will say that for someone who is completely brand new to the series, this DLC got me hooked. We hit the ground running and find out that the cleaners have concocted some purple flame weapon, which is absolutely nasty, and us agents are out to get to the bottom of it. Wait, when did I wear a white shirt? I thought I was wearing a white shirt. Hold on a second. When was I white shirt? All right, well, it's already halfway through recording it. I'm keeping the white jacket on. From the outside looking in, I just always assumed that Division 2 was essentially bullet sponge gaming, just shooting at enemies for thousands of rounds until they died, but that's not entirely true. I will say that I do think it's comical having literally hundreds of thousands of damage being output at one time, but once again, I'm new to the series, and my point of reference for everything when it comes to damage numbers is just looking and hoping for that yellow critical strike in classic World of Warcraft. Ooh, what a crit. But right out the gate, you start to learn weak points. Like for these flamethrower guys here, just shoot the tank and after a few seconds, they'll explode. And although these different types of enemies may be familiar if you're a longtime Division player, they do prepare you for much more involved boss fights that are now included in the Division 2 Battle for Brooklyn. Now, I'm going to jump ahead to a boss fight that happens like in the second half of the game, just to help showcase this without really discussing any of the story. So everything still should be relatively spoiler free. But as a new Division 2 player, I took advantage of the level 40 boost that the DLC does give you in order to help get me up to speed for all the new content in Brooklyn. And that did set me up pretty good for much of the game, until I ran into the Rat Queen. At this point, I'd gotten some decent new gear and I found my new favorite weapon, but this boss was an absolute nightmare for me to deal with solo. She would go invulnerable for periods of time throughout the fight, you had to run around and disable certain panels around the map, and ads would spawn in that you had to deal with too. After my third or fourth time getting absolutely bodied, I whipped out the Google and discovered an item that would help me out. The decoy. This is the genius of the fights in Battle for Brooklyn. They're designed in such a way that really require you to think about your gear, and oftentimes I found myself in the middle of firefights hot swapping stuff that I thought would work for that stage of the fight much better. For the Rat Queen specifically, this decoy was pretty much a make or break for me as a lowly solo player. And since I didn't have the gear or experience to just burn her down with high DPS weapons, I had to go back to the Warlords of New York missions to unlock this decoy hologram. After a cool 45 minutes exploring Manhattan, I went back to take on the Rat Queen. I equipped all the plus armor gear I could, and despite now having extremely low damage, I use this new decoy and the armor hive skill to slowly but surely burn her down. It was an absolute grind, and I'm sure some of you vets out there are laughing at the build I'm running, but I just really feel like this fight was a nice coming together of a lot of the knowledge I had gained in Battle for Brooklyn up to this point, and although I obviously didn't have the best gear for it, nothing was really meta built, I did feel pretty good to just win this on my own. Yes, there we go. Oh my God, fuck you. Holy sh**. And this is not a one-off. There are plenty of fights throughout Brooklyn that really make you think and swap your gear, and it should really make for exciting and fun gameplay, whether you're a new player like myself or you're a veteran coming back, as well as if you're choosing to do this solo or in a group. Also, veteran players may remember the smart cover skill from the original Division game, and Battle for Brooklyn brings it back. You'll be able to unlock this pretty early on in the campaign, and it's another great tool if you're grouping up with others in the city. As a new player, I will admit that I did everything on the story difficulty, so I'm not some heroic gamer here, but as I was wandering around, I did answer the call for reinforcements, and I did hop into a match with a group where we did complete a story on heroic. It was a lot more chaotic and challenging with players going down left and right, and despite completing everything on my own beforehand, it did give me this itch to learn more about the crafting and gear progression in order to really maximize my character and try all this harder content solo, or maybe even just duos. The Division 2 in general just has a really well thought out system that the Battle for Brooklyn really maximizes. You have your specializations, your SHD watch, and at the end of it, I just really began to feel like I could make my character work with my own unique playstyle. As you run around Brooklyn, you can now complete the new Crossroads seasonal content, which comes with the Battle for Brooklyn DLC, as well as journey missions, which are more or less smaller objectives like killing enemies or collecting certain loot, but they do help keep you on track in the city and also do reward you with new gear, which I found to be extremely helpful as I progress through the story. And honestly, I think it's perfectly fine to get distracted in the city. I think I saw people saying that you could complete everything in the story mode in about 4 or 5 hours, and I mean, yeah, I guess, but if you just blast through the story, are you really even experiencing the game? I think at this point I have a dozen or so hours in the Division 2, and 95% of that is in just this DLC. But as you can see from the map, I'm not even halfway through exploring the city. At times I would go off, wander, check out different alleys, go clear an outpost, donate a bunch of gear, or maybe reclaim radio broadcasts to replace bad propaganda with good propaganda. Okay, but I do have one confession to make. I did leave up one Rikers broadcast because the message just went so hard.
We had a Riker step out of line. Attacked a family in the streets. Killed an innocent man and his daughter. You know how we handled him? I slit his throat, and I hung him from a bridge until the birds and rats took what was left of his useless body.
Bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, so obviously I had to leave that one in, and past Division players will know just how fun it is to run around and explore Brooklyn, and this DLC really gives that to you in spades. Like I said, I still haven't even done everything that you can in Brooklyn. There's a bunch of random events, there's territory control, you have underground areas to explore, you can maintain control points after you clear them out for yourself, and that's not even mentioning the new scout objectives and trying to find collectibles like hunter masks. There's just a lot of new content here, and it really makes it feel like a real city. Well, okay, except for this, okay? Near the end of the campaign, you have to go to an art museum, and this is where the devs completely lost me, all right? In what world are we living in where kids 0 to 10 could get into an art museum for free? Especially in Brooklyn. Now, this is so unrealistic, okay? I have 2 toddlers, ages 3 and 5, and that means I'm now in the golden age of having to pay for every little thing we do. I don't know if this was changed during like COVID, or maybe I'm just now realizing this because I'm actually paying for everything, but you would never see a place like this that would allow kids 0 to 10 to enter for free, okay? Everything that we do for kids is at least $20 if you're 3 years old and up, okay? I just took a trip to San Antonio with the kids, with the family, great trip, but we saw everything, okay? The zoo, $30. Legoland, $27.98. SeaWorld, $89.99. Are you kidding me? Yeah, so Battle for Brooklyn devs, I could believe an entire refinery that was made for the sole purpose of producing Purple Flame, but that is where you lost me. 0 to 10-year-olds getting into places for free. Absolutely immersion breaking. What this DLC did was really give me an itch to learn more about the city and the people, both good and bad, that you interact with. And although I do think the story is pretty quick to explain things when you're just in the missions themselves, what I did really like was being able to wander around the city at my own pace and discover these little walkie-talkie things. I recommend listening to these broadcasts or playing the video messages that you find, since it will really help tie the story together. And this kind of goes back to those people who say that you can complete Brooklyn in 4 to 5 hours. And yeah, technically you can, but I don't think you'd really enjoy and appreciate the story if you did do that. As a new player to the series, I was really intrigued in the Battle for Brooklyn storyline. And based on what I've read by longtime players of the series, this new content not only builds on what The Division 2 has been doing for years, but also has a lot of nice nostalgic throwbacks and nods to the original game. So yeah, go get lost in an alley. It's 100% worth it. I really do wish I played this game years ago, but if you're like me and never knew how to jump in, Battle for Brooklyn is the perfect time. This season is just starting if you want to also get a good start on your Crossroads progression or maybe jump into PvP. But this DLC actually caused me to purchase the original Division to get a taste of what the city was like immediately following the epidemic, and really just helped me learn the history of the game to help flesh out my knowledge of this new story. Whether you're a new player or a vet, The Division 2 is alive and well, and for $15, this DLC has already given me much more entertainment than my full-priced Legoland ticket. Seriously, in what world is a 3-year-old worth a $30 ticket? Come on, man! Thanks again for The Division 2 for sponsoring this video, and make sure to click the link down in the description below to get the Battle for Brooklyn DLC for yourself. But that's it for me. I'm off to listen to some more Rikers propaganda.
When people step out of line, we handle them. But the bridge? Oh, somebody steps out of line, go to therapy, hit some rocks with a sledgehammer until you feel better. Maybe you need a new job. Oh, have you tried painting your feelings? That bullshit, that's theater. Doesn't fix anyone's problems.